Number 2 is Profit First by a guy named Mike Michalowicz. And I think of Profit First as Dave Ramsey for law firms. So I don't know about you, but attorneys that I talk to are not very good with money. They can't figure out accounting, like the way accountants do money. I have no concept of how accountants do money. I look at their stuff and it just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But we all try to understand how accountants do money, but it doesn't work for us. So we need some other type of system that does function. And Profit First, for me, is that system. So here's the general idea of it. You want something where you can go to your bank and look at your accounts any time of the day, any time of the year, and know exactly how much money you have and what your financial situation is. And this gives it to you. So what Mike suggests you do is you open a whole bunch of different accounts within your bank. So you have, at the very minimum, you have an income account, you have an owner's pay account, so what you pay yourself as the owner of the firm, and then an operating expenses account. So those are the 3 basic accounts. Then you have 2 more accounts. He suggests you put these accounts, you open these accounts in a different bank so you're not tempted to take this money. But sometimes if you have all the accounts in one place, it's really easy just to transfer the money between the accounts. So he says go somewhere else so you're not tempted to do that. So in the other bank, he suggests you open what's called a profit account and then a taxes account. I renamed the taxes account the government money account. So whenever I look at my accounts, it says government's money, so I know I shouldn't be taking it and using it for other things. But those are the 5 accounts that you need to open. And then what you do is you determine from your income or your gross revenues how much is going to go in each one of these accounts, like how it's going to be allocated. So he calls that the target allocation percentages. And what you want to do is figure out the percentages, that go into each one of those accounts. So his kind of suggestions, if you're $0 to $1 million, is 15% goes in of gross receipts. We're talking all gross receipts. So all money comes into one account as the income account, and then it gets allocated from there. So 15% goes to the taxes account, and then 25, I think he says 25% goes to owner's compensation. Okay, so you're paying yourself at this point, 25% of gross receipts. And then 10% goes into profit. And the rest, after you get through that, then the rest really goes in the operating account. So whatever remains goes in the operating account. And once that goes in the operating account, then you know what you can spend on marketing and admin, employees, all of those things. So it gives you a really, really good idea just by looking at the accounts where all the money is and exactly how much money you have at the beginning of the month to spend on these things. So you can actually plan what you can spend. You're not playing catch up from the month previous. You actually get to look forward. So that's kind of the idea of it. One thing he also says, put enough money in the taxes account so that you, as the owner of the firm, are paying your personal taxes and the firm's taxes from that taxes account. So if your firm pays your taxes, that's totally fine. You own the place. It's okay. So make sure you put enough money in there. And then as you go up in revenues, past $1 million, past $5 million, $3 million, whatever it is, then these target allocation percentages change. So as you go up, your income, your share that goes into income is going to go down, and more of the profit, your profit is going to go up. And on the profit account, what you do is you keep that money, so it's 10%, 0 to $1 million, that'll go to 15, 20, and even higher than that. You keep that money in there for a year. You keep that money in there, and then you can distribute part of that to yourself if you want on a quarterly basis. Or if you just want to keep it in there as retained earnings, then you can do that as well. The nice thing about having a profit account is it makes you profitable from day one. So I think, was it 65% of small businesses in America break even and lose money, right? with this type of system, his thing is, again, it's kind of like Dave Ramsey in the sense that you need some quick wins. With this, you get a quick win. Like you're always putting profit away, and then you amass money. So you can amass that money in retained earnings. You can distribute it to yourself every once in a while, or you can save it up to buy a building, you save it up to use on marketing, whatever you're going to do, but you have that money set aside. Okay, and that is better than I think probably 95% of law firms that I've ever interacted with. So that's the idea on profit first. So those are the two systems books for money, and I think it's super. I think that is super important because, like I said, if you don't have your money together, ain't nothing else gonna work. Yeah, Aaron.
I've been doing profit first for about 5-6 months now, and it is really amazing and a lot of fun to see that profit account go up.
Yeah.
And what we do is we take, when you make that quarterly distribution, I only ever touch half of it.
Mm-hmm.
So half of the profit first account is always there.
Are you doing the 10%?
I do 25, but I only ever take half of it.
Yeah.
On the quarterly draw.
Okay. And explain for the people in the room kind of how, maybe this will help, how you have things set up with Dave, and then how are you doing this just in yours, or are you and Dave doing it together?
It's just me. Yeah.
Okay.
And I use.
So Dave and, Aaron and Dave Corbett are in the same office, but you have separate firms, which is a lot of us in the room, so, yeah, if you could explain how that works.
Oh, yeah, we just share a few expenses and a few employees is all. And so all of our money runs through different entities.
Okay.
But each of us own half of it. But the other thing that, I put the profit account and the tax account at Alta Bank, which has got to be the most useless, most difficult bank to ever deal with on this planet. They're so awful.
Which is exactly what you want, right?
But it makes it really hard to get the money. So it's perfect.
Do you have to go in physically to get the cash, and how do you do it?
Almost, no. I mean, you almost have to go in and rob the place to get it. But it's incredibly hard to transfer money, and super annoying, and yes, it's a perfect place to park some money.
Do you have the tax account over there too?
Yeah, I have my profit in my tax account.
So how do you do the tax account? Sorry, this is a good discussion. So how do you do the tax account because you're taking out once or twice a month to pay taxes?
Yeah, so that, I'm sorry, no. Taxes with Chase, so it's easier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So you just have the profit account.
account is there at Alta.
Okay, all right, cool.
Which was Bank of American Ford. They change names like every 3 years. It's a good sign.
You sure you're gonna actually have that money after a while?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. All right. So does anybody else have experiences with either of these two books and how it's worked for them? No. Oh, yeah.
So we did the money makeover. We're on just got the student loans paid off a couple months ago.
Good for you, Matt.
So it's crazy how the debt snowball, because it doesn't make sense, the whole math thing, because usually if you talk to a finance professor, in fact, my finance professor made fun of Dave Ramsey because they said, well, you should pay off the one with the higher interest rate, not the low principal. And Dave, the book is basically just saying, hey, you guys are not very disciplined, and that's why you're in the situation that you're in. So pay the principal off, the lowest principal off first, and that'll give you some adrenaline, it'll motivate you, and you'll keep going. Whereas sometimes your highest interest rate is your highest balance, and if you don't see the win, then eventually you'll give up.
Yeah.
So, but we've talked a lot. The only book I don't implement, I don't know the Why We Sleep, I haven't read that one yet. So.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that one. That one's great. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have experiences? Yeah.
So my wife and I, we used the Total Money Makeover, started a couple years ago, used it to pay off our debt, our student loans, and last year paid off our house. So it's a great system. huge proponent of it. In fact, just this year, I gave out 95 copies of the book to people.
I got one.
Yeah.
Did you? Wow.
So.
Did you just send it out to people? I sent it out for Christmas because I'm a horrible human being. People hate me because
No,
of
I was in a networking group on Facebook, and I just said, if anybody wants one, I'll buy one.
Okay.
Originally, I had a box of 20, I got more responses than I anticipated, so I bought a couple more boxes. But it is a great way, and it really makes your life better when you get those things off your back. I mean, because I was like you, the first couple of years, those student loans didn't seem to go away. And having a system in place where actually, putting effort towards a target rather than just kind of doing whatever with your money, it really makes a difference.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I thought I would die with those, I literally, thought I would die with those student loans, like, I would wake up in the middle of the night, and be like, ugh, those stupid things. You're better than me though, Mark, at least I give them as wedding gifts.
No, I do that too.
Yeah. It's like, this is what we need. They kind of look at you like, really?
I bought somebody Financial Peace University. So this is the book portion. Dave Ramsey also has the kind of a class that you go through with lessons, and that's called Financial Peace University. So I bought, I think 22, 23-year-olds, they got friend's kid, they got married, so I sent them that. I'm sure they looked at that like, oh, heaven's green earth is this garbage. But if they follow it, it's gonna be a good life, man. Yeah, so I don't know about how you did things, but I remember I deferred as long as I could, and then I did income-based repayment. I was playing like all of the games, and then 8 years later, I think, like I said, we paid off $3,000. You just needed it gone, right? So that was good. Okay.
My student loans at one point were at 0% interest. I'm like, why should I pay them off? But they're at 0% interest. But
Because being free is better than being a slave,
Sure is.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.